Hey, what's up? You're here with XXL and Google Plus for the XXL Google Plus Common Hangout. Today we're celebrating the release of Common's new album that is released today, Nobody's Smiling. It's your 10th solo album, first one on Def Jam, right?
Yes.
Reuniting with No I.D together on this project. So, want to tell us a little bit about what the name means, Nobody's Smiling, where you got it?
Yeah, well, Nobody's Smiling really started from a discussion that No I.D. and I and my man Mike Chavez, we were having in his studio. And we were talking about, just really what's going on in Chicago and what our duty is within that equation. It's been a lot of violence going on, and sometimes it's ignored, and nothing is really being done. Not, there's some people working in Chicago to try to do things and change things, but it's not enough. They working hard, but more people need to galvanize and do work. So that was like the mission. And when that came, that Nobody's Smiling, that whole thought and concept, I really just got inspired to do the album. So that's what Nobody's Smiling. I mean, it's more of a call to action because, I don't want to set the tone and say, yo, let's stay in this place. It's like, let's move forward from here.
That was actually one of the questions from one of the Google Plus users, Alex. We have a few other questions that I guess we'll kick off with just to start from some of the users. Jenna, Google Plus user, Jenna wanted to know what was the inspiration for the album artwork, which I believe we have, the cover for the album.
Yeah. Well, I have to first say that, the team at Def Jam really came with this concept of me, it would be a visual of me with the black backdrop, but also having other artists from Chicago on the cover, and on the inside. And I was really with that because like this whole project is a give back for me, and this is the opportunity that I feel like I want to give back to all those artists. It's a lot of great artists coming from Chicago, whether it's Chance, whether it's Lil Bibby, Lil Herb, Dreezy, whether it's Dirk,
Vic Mensa's out
Big
there.
Mensa. Yeah, it's a lot of artists, G Count. So these covers was just a way of me saying, hey, I'm a part of this movement and I extend my arms to them in the same way. And, we come from the same place.
So there's two separate issues in Chicago, or not issues, but you've got the new artists that are coming up and have more of a shine on Chicago, more than ever really lately,
Right.
that you look like you're looking out for by putting on the album and putting them on the album and working with them. There's also the issue that's going on with gun violence in Chicago, which seems to be something that's very important to you as well. How did the two both play a role in the album and for you?
Well, for me, I look at the artists that are coming from Chicago, and they just telling their story. Really, they just expressing what they see. What they talk is what they feel and what they see. So I embrace that because that's what we do as hip hop artists and musicians. We always speak our piece. Speak who we are, and I think for me, I I believe, like, from my perspective, I wanted to because I'm from Chicago and that's where I grew up. I realize I'm not different from them guys. We come from the same place, and I experienced some of the same things. I just wanted to tell the stories from their perspective, but also from a perspective that that I've seen certain things too. So I just really just went into my who I am as a Chicagoan and just told those stories and didn't separate myself from them.
Right. Do you have a responsibility as an artist from Chicago to give back to those kids, to look out for them, or those young artists? Do
For
you
sure.
feel, or
Yeah, I feel a responsibility because I've had the opportunity to come from there, from the South Side of Chicago, and move forward and fulfill dreams and keep going. And I want to help them to fulfill their dreams and have a chance to get out of the city or just bring something back to the city. It's like, it was something when I saw what LeBron was saying about what he did, his move to go back to Cleveland. I was really like understanding it because I feel like, man, I had to go back to Chicago and give back because it's just when you see your city. When I go home and look and see like the strip that I grew up on, looking, it looked dire sometimes.
right,
It's like, man, how can I just sit back and watch, and not care?
right? Would you think it's a responsibility of other artists to do it in their cities, or to each his own?
I mean, I feel like a person has to, be who they are. If that's not in their heart,
Right.
then cool. Maybe they discover it later on, because one thing I felt with this project and this album at this time, it's some things I may could have done earlier,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I mean, I know I've always been talking about Chicago, I have my foundation, but maybe I could have been even more active earlier. So I don't hold anybody else accountable. Like, man, you know, because that might not be where they are at the time.
Right, it's
But
where you are in your life.
yeah, it's where you are. But if you do feel that responsibility and you do got that in your heart, then go for it. 'Cause, you know, it's like it creates more purpose for what we do. And that's, you know, it motivated me, to be honest, like, because one of the strongest conversations we had was like, man, like, we want to do stuff that means something. Like, we care about this culture, we care about the people, so, you know, we care about the country,
Right.
you know. So.
And you have a huge platform, being the star that you are, that if you're going to showcase this talent, it gets them kind of to the next level than just a mixtape or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, it's a mutual bond, because at the same token, like, some of the younger audience, Chicago audience, or people that do know them, like, man, it's just, they like, oh man, Common care about, you know, them. Then,
Right.
you know, it
Nice to
shows
feel
some
someone
love.
cares, right?
Yeah.
All right, so you're 10 albums deep. You're back with No I.D. Your first time on Def Jam. Sure, Def Jam's been treating you great because they're Def Jam, but how's it been to work on this album with No I.D.? What was the recording process like? How are you with, how do you guys feel about the overall outcome?
Man, I think this is one of our best moments that we've had as artists.
You go way back.
Yeah, I've known No I.D. Dion since 4th grade. So we played on the basketball teams, high school. We've been through a lot together. First demos, albums. And then, you know, we kind of split apart as friends and as musicians, but came back together. And we, you know, that process happened with him working with Kanye and me coming around. And we eventually did The Dream of the Believer, my last project. Mm-hmm. But this album, it felt like we had found a certain rhythm, a certain, like, spirit and zone. And we, you know, it just felt like it was the easiest album to do because the motivation was there. And we, you know, we have been through the ups and downs just as individuals and together.
And you know each other musically.
We know each other musically. And we just started discovering a new direction. And when things are fresh, like, this album is a fresh sound. I think this is one of the first times I've been able to release a project and it's on time. Mm-hmm. You know, meaning sometimes I release something and I'm ahead of my time. And sometimes I might release something that sounds so classic that the people of the present day, like, only the people that come from that era really like, oh. But now it feels like, from the, you know, just from the sound of the album, it's like it's on time.
It's the now.
Yeah.
How come? How were you able to capture that now versus in the past, you know, when you were either ahead of yourself or behind? What made that now?
I think it came from me studying, like, listening to what's going on now and going back and listening to classic.
Your music or music of all, across the board?
No, music across the board. Mm-hmm. And, like, in hip-hop, getting to hear Kendrick Lamar, getting to hear Lil Bibby, getting to hear Dirk, getting to hear, you know, what stuff, whether it's Drake or whomever, people out there, and then saying, okay, let me go listen to some of the classics. I was listening to Biggie and Rakim, mm-hmm. and somehow the marriage kind of came together as far as it was a natural thing, because you can feel when somebody's reaching.
Born to fly, call me the ball ego. Open shows at the Rego for Daddy Kane and Easy Edo. Boys in the hood is hot like kilos of heroin. The hero that came from zero. My boss and my PR like Puerto Rico. This broad from the DR said I was Frio. That's ice cold like Dre 333. Being on the watch star, better with time.
I started writing the raps that felt free and just, it wasn't really too much about a particular subject matter, just shining. So we, you know, Big Sean is somebody I'm cool with. We part of the Good Music family.
Right. And he's just good people.
Yeah, he's just good people. He's just a good dude. I just seen him, you know, before, like a couple of weeks before we got him on the song, and then he, you know, No I.D. was like, man, I'm go talk to Sean, and then I was like, cool. And then I talked to Sean on the phone, and then Sean was like, I'm gonna lay something down. And when I got it, I was like, yo.
He just sounds like he's having a good time.
It's, man.
Yeah.
And the music, it took the record up, you know, and that's a great thing. I feel the energy when I hear it. As soon as we start playing it, it make me want to do something. And it's something that we never have gotten in some common records. You
Yeah.
know?
And that's an artist who really reps his city too, with Detroit and all.
Yeah.
So you know, it's nice to see you guys come together like that for it. You know.
Yeah.
Another record we have, Hustle Hard. Who does that feature? Tell us a little bit about those artists.
Yes. Well, She Hustle Hard is the intro is done by Snow Allegra, who's this artist who is incredible. She's from Sweden, and she's like she's part of our whole RDM family, and she's
RDM being No I.D's label
yeah.
on Def Jam, right?
Yeah, I'm saying it like everybody.
Just so everyone knows.
Yeah, thank you for
Give
that.
it a shout out.
RDM, that's it. Def Jam, RDM, Def Jam, No I.D's label. Yeah, and the song She Hustle Harder also features a girl named Dreezy. She's from Chicago, and she really is one really dope MC. Like, I was listening to her mixtape, and I was like, man, this girl is dope. Like, she really has like MC skills. Like, she'll kick, you know, the metaphors and similes.
Right, it's a female MC. That's cool to see, definitely, because it's such a small pool to begin with.
Yeah, and anyway, I heard on the song Chirac, the remix. She did a remix of that, and I was like, man, this girl is cold. So, you know, we bonded, and I ended up putting her on the song She Hustle Harder. I did a song with her, and then she got on She Hustle Harder. And She Hustle Harder is a song that's like really about like, it's to me, it's like to empower women song. Like it's like, man, it's talking about a woman who has her own strength and can function on her own. Like I say a line, like if she had kids, she could father them both. Because, you know, when I think, you know, I grew up around a mother who's a strong woman, and single moms, you know, that's some powerful stuff to be able to have to raise a human being just by yourself. So, you know, the song don't get so deep, you know, when you hear it, but it's really a woman empowerment song.
Right, and you identify with her and where she came from.
Yeah.
Not just from Chicago, but the deep place she was coming from with the music.
The deep place she was coming from, the music, and you know, I think this, you know, it's nice in the concept of that song to have a person that, you know, from a male perspective, you want a woman that got her thing going, and you know she got your back, and you got her back.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
yes,
right.
That's true. All right, let's check out that song.
Red lipstick bow, French press coat. You know she queen bee by the way she wear her go. Honey getting money, that ass is stupid. She far from a dummy. Funny, I thought she came from money. How she making money?
That's a crazy beat. Who made the beat?
No I.D.
He made the beat too?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what, No I.D. produced this whole album.
And, right, of course, right.
Yeah, and he really gave me beats that was like stuff I never rapped on before.
Yeah.
And that's saying a lot, because I've done 10 albums, and we've done...
Of how much of his material already, right.
Yeah, so it was like, man, that's why I was like, man, we both hit a new place. And for him to do the whole album and show that diversity, I think people will see that he's one of the great producers in hip-hop of all time.
Right, you'll really get to showcase him with this project even more.
Yeah.
We got a few questions from the XXL staff. We have two editors calling in, Manny Madakulam and Dan Rice over at XXL, and they wanted to ask you a few questions because they've been covering Connerman and are big fans too. So Manny, Dan, what do you guys have for us? This is Manny.
Well, the artists that I chose are really artists that I'm fans of their music. I know their music, and I also just like what they represented for the city, that they do represent Chicago, and I kind of had a connection with them. Like I had access to them too. Like it's other artists that I appreciate from Chicago that I gotta say that I think are dope.
It's just who made the cut.
Yeah, just who made the cut, and just, like, honestly, it was like one of those, I started like, we got people on the phone quick, so it was one of those moves. We had, like, certain people I already liked. I was like, man, just had to be able to hit them on the horn, and Lil Herb is on the album, different people. It's a kid on my album that nobody knows. His name is Johnny. I actually had him doing an intro to Kingdom at one point for the video. And though he's not a well-known rapper, I don't even think he ever has recorded anything. He's a 10-year-old kid that is a rapper, And I just, it just was people that I felt connected with, and I appreciate them.
Right. So the album's for you.
Yeah.
Right. Do we have anybody else? Okay, we were going to have another person check in, but I think we're having a little bit of problem with them and time. Yeah. So going to ask you just 2 more questions from the fans. So we have Google Plus user Rashad wants to know how social media impacted this album for you versus the ones in the past that you've done, because you've been there from before and after the social media craze. Well,
more than anything, it's been impacting the album in a real positive way, as far as a lot of the buzz and energy is being released on social media, meaning like we don't have to just sit and wait for, whether it's radio or other outlets. Social media can allow us to go directly. Social media made me say, hey, all right, if our music is there, all we got to do is be, smart with, delivering it through social media. Because the music is what drives it. Like, at the end of the day, people get the music and they hear it on social media. Then if it's great, then they're going to tell somebody, and it's going to be passed around. So social media has been really a benefit for us, because I feel like the album project is something that's great and it's special. So people are talking about it from that way, and we have our strategic teams that's doing cool things, like we did the album cover where people can make their own cover for Nobody's Smiling. So that, all that stuff. You upload your photo, put it over it, yeah. Put your photo. So, those things have been great, and just being present and connecting with the fans on social media. But I can't say that the way that social media has benefited me in making it, that's how I check out a lot of music, is through social media. Right. All right, so Alex, Google Plus user Alex, wants to know, well, we already went, there's Tyler Inspiration, so let's switch to Sydney. Google Plus user Sydney wants to know, are you going on tour? Will we see that? Yes, like, this is an album I'm going to tour. Will you bring a lot of the local Chicago artists you're using with you? Is that kind of thing to showcase them? I would love to. I would love to. We actually have a festival happening in Chicago in September called the I Festival, where we're going to have a lot of the artists from Chicago and some of the other name eclectic music being played at Chicago at this festival, I Festival, and we actually utilizing that to employ people of the city. Like, we're going to show some of the younger people like what it is to be a lighting director, what it is to be a sound engineer, right. See if they to learn the other sides besides being in front of the camera. Yeah, exactly. Because it's a big business. It's a big business, right. Man. You can get money in different ways. All right, so today's the album's release date. Today, Nobody's Smiling hits stores, hits online, everywhere. Tell us a little bit, to wrap up, what songs you also love on it you want us to look out for. Well, one of my favorites is called Rewind That. It's a story about No I.D, and I like what I said about our friendship and how it, we went separated and came back together. And the second verse is about Jay Dilla, JD, who was a dear friend of mine, real friend of mine, and also one of the greatest producers ever in music. That's one of my favorites. And then also, I've been starting, because we just performed last night, and I've been starting to like... Big New York City show. Yeah, New York City. Everyone was talking about it. Yeah, it felt great. Yeah. Man. But I'm starting to like a bonus song on the album, on the deluxe version. It's called Out on Bond. And it's featuring Vince Staples. It's the second song on the album that he's on, but it's the deluxe version. But it's just one of them, like them rhyming joints, and I'm out on bond. So those are 2 of my favorites right now. XXL Social loves Vince Staples. Good, definitely. He's definitely coming hard for him, you know? He is one of the coldest, man. Vince is, to me, is like, man, like, he depicts what we want in hip-hop to me. Like, we want diversity. We want it all. But, man, he's one of those, he like an artist that I'm saying I can listen to and be like, oh, man, it make me want to write. Right. Yeah. Right. Anything else you want to add about the album? Well, man, I just, go check it out, man. I think it's a very special piece of work. I'm grateful that... It's number 10. Yeah. Flat, just off of that, check it out. Check it out. Thank you very much for coming out and doing this with us. Good luck with everything. Thank you for having me. Cool.